What is up, everybody? Oh man. Breaking news. Micah Parsons has been traded to the Green Bay Packers. Um, let's get into this a little bit. So, at the end of the day, let's first off start by saying this. The way in which this trade was done was absolutely asinine. If you wanted to do this trade, you needed to do this trade in March. You could have got more teams involved, got a way better haul in return, and also at the same time would have put yourself in position to get assets for this year versus the future. Now, with that being said, let's actually dive into this. And there's some important things that I think we need to go through. You can agree we should have traded Micah Parsons. You can agree that we shouldn't trade Micah Parsons. You can make arguments for both sides, but the biggest part of this is the fact that for those of you out there thinking that this is really going to have some wildly crazy effect on how good or bad this defense is, you're wrong. If you think this is going to be some wildly crazy effect on how good the Cowboys are or have any real effect on their record, you're wrong. If you think Micah Parsons is so incredibly talented and so incredibly untouchable from a trade that you can't even fathom the fact that a trade would have even been on the table, you're wrong. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's start with the contract side of this first. The first part of this is the contract side. Everybody's going to beat up Jerry for not talking to the agent, not getting the contract done, this and that. That's all fine. But in reality, what happened here? This is Micah's fault. This whole situation is Micah's fault. Micah called Jerry to negotiate. Jerry didn't call Micah. Micah agreed to a contract and shook his hand and said, send it to my agent. I like it. Agent said, don't bother sending it over. You haven't talked to me. The negotiations haven't started. Don't even bother sending it over. That is Micah's job. David Mogella is one of the best agents because he gets these absurdly ridiculous contracts. If you guys remember correctly, he did the Deshaun Watson deal, okay? Jerry Jones was not going to let David Mogella get a Deshaun Watson deal over on him. All right, first off. Second off, it's Micah's job to say, I want to be a Dallas Cowboy. They've offered to pay me as the highest non-quarterback in football. They offered me the contract I was seeking. Sign the fucking paperwork. Get the legalities done. That's Micah's job. Instead, David Mulligetta said, no. We're not going to sign anything now. We're going to hold them hostage. We're going to wait till TJ Watt and these other guys get signed, hold Dallas hostage, and then come back to them with triple the number that you and Jerry just agreed to, which was already the highest number. We're not going to sign anything until it's advantageous for us. Because the agent doesn't care about anything but his 3%. Micah's the one who let this spiral out of control by letting his agent off his leash. That's first off. So, for those of you talking about the contract, this and that, blame Micah. Micah agreed to a deal. Jerry agreed to a deal. They offered him a contract. This could have already been done in March and late April. David Mulligetta wanted to hold out to get his 3% increased. Jerry wasn't having it. Now, let's get to the other side of this. Micah Parsons as a football player. Micah Parsons is a linebacker. He's not a defensive end. He's a linebacker. Micah, throughout his career in Dallas, has refused to play linebacker. With his refusal to play linebacker, which is what makes him good, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, go back and look at some of these other videos I've made. We've talked about the fact he's a linebacker, not a pass rusher. If you want to use him as a third down pass rusher, third and long passing situations, yeah, he can rush the passer. Great. You can also blitz as a linebacker. And on first and second down, his side-to-sideline athleticism is one of the biggest things that would help stop the run. because Micah as a defensive end is too small. He can't stop the run, which is why teams run right at him. You don't believe me? You don't think teams target him in the run game because he's a liability in the run game and he's a bad run defender from the defensive end spot? You guys don't believe me? Just go back on Micah's podcast and listen to Jordan Love talk about, oh yeah, we ran right at you. Go back and look at the San Francisco games and film breakdown of San Francisco in those playoff games running right at him. Go look at the Lions who ran right at him. Go look at Baltimore who ran right at him. This is what these teams do because he's not big enough to be an every down defensive end. He's one of the liabilities on this defense. Yeah, he can rush the passer, but he's also one of the biggest, if not the biggest, liability in the run game. And if you really want to watch film and get into the weeds about the fact that he's screwing up the splits and the run gaps and he's doing stuff he shouldn't be doing and blowing his assignments in the run game and not keeping his lane integrity and everything else, you can get in the weeds and you can do that. But we're not going to waste time with that. So the other side of this is Micah Parsons as a pass rusher is wildly overrated. Micah is a good pass rusher. I'm not saying he's a bad pass rusher. But Micah is the same as so many of these high-end Dallas players. Dak got the biggest contract in history. Is he the best quarterback in the NFL? Absolutely not. Can Dak live up to that contract, especially in the big moments? Absolutely not. Did Zeke live up to that contract? No. The only one who has and will live up to his contract is CeeDee Lamb, because CeeDee's a stud. And that's where everybody's like, oh, Micah, they traded the best player on their team, all these talking heads on ESPN. CeeDee Lamb is the best player on that football team, not Micah Parsons. It's CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is, you could make a case for CD as to he's right there, and you could make a case arguing him against Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. You really can't make a case for Micah against some of these top-end pass rushers like TJ Watt and Max Crosby and some of these guys. In case you guys didn't realize, you can say, oh, well, the first 3 years, it's most sacks. He's never led the league in sacks. Ever. Ever. He's never sniffed a defensive player of the year. And the problem with Micah is his sack totals are like Dak. We've talked about in the past, Dak, how all his yardage totals, his empty calorie stats are all inflated because he throws for 300 after they're already down by 30 points. That's Micah Parsons with his sacks. Micah Parsons only gets sacks against bad teams. Over 75% of his career sacks are against sub-500 football teams. Give me one game Micah Parsons was impactful. Give me one playoff game he was impactful, made a difference. Give me one big game. The Bills blew us out a couple years ago. Lost to Miami. Like any of these big games where he's been impactful. He doesn't show up. Micah Parsons might as well not even be on the field. He doesn't show up in big games. He only shows up against bad teams with bad offensive lines. Yeah, it's easy when out of his 52 or 54 career sacks, whatever it is, over 30 of them are against the Giants and Washington. And in case you guys forgot, because I know Washington was good last year, in case you guys forgot, Washington's been really bad for a long time. The Giants have been really bad for a long time. His entire career, he's been feasting on bad teams. Yeah, he gets eight games a year. 4 games a year against those teams. And usually gets multiple sacks in those games. So, to drive this point home, the Packers, who he just went to, in the worst playoff loss in Cowboy history, Micah recorded 0 tackles, 0 sacks, 0 pressures. You want me to pay that guy as the highest paid defensive player in history, the highest paid non-quarterback in history? Hell no. Hell no. Absolutely not. If Micah would have got his contract, he would have been another Dak, another Zeke, another guy who's overpaid and overrated who can't live up to his contract. This now frees up a lot of space for Dallas to do what they need to do. Now, whether they'll do anything with that space, that's a different story. Because despite, which I know all of you are killing Jerry for this today, and despite everything you guys are going to kill Jerry for, like I've said before, Stephen Jones runs this team now, not Jerry. And for all of you who watch the new Cowboys series on Netflix, The Gambler and His Cowboys, go and watch it. Stephen's always been this way. When Jerry signed Dion in free agency, Stephen pushed him up against the wall like he's gonna hit him, freaking out that Jerry signed Deion Sanders because it was too much money. Guys, that's who Stephen is. Stephen wouldn't open up the checkbook, or didn't want to, for Deion Sanders. You think he's opening up the checkbook for any of these other free agents? No. That's why the free agency over the last, 8 to 10 years has been so bad, because Stephen's the one pulling the strings now. We've seen Jerry go get Dion, go get Charles Haley, go get Terrell Owens. Even when they made a move to get Brandon Carr, it didn't work out, but you tried something. Trade to get Amari Cooper. Jerry makes moves. Jerry spends money. Stephen doesn't. Stephen won't. So, whether those picks are going to be useful, whatever. I don't know. Cowboys don't ever use their assets. But at the end of the day, the trade itself also isn't that bad for Dallas. You get 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark, an all-pro defensive tackle. What have we all been saying Dallas can't do? They can't stop the run, and their defensive tackles are really bad. Osa's good, but outside of that, you got a bunch of really bad defensive tackles. So, you lose Micah, you get a defensive tackle to help you stop the run, and you get 2 first-round picks. You free up all this cap space, and in case you guys forgot, Dallas is loaded at D-end. Yeah, now maybe none of them are as good as Micah Parsons, but it's by committee. They're just going to keep coming after you. We all saw Sam Williams when he was healthy. Obviously, he was hurt last year, but when he was healthy, he was pretty good. Sam Williams is a good defensive end. Obviously, we know Fowler is a good defensive end. This Ezeraku kid that they just drafted from Boston College has looked really good in camp. He has been a terror for the offense in camp. Another good defensive end. You got Marshawn Nealon that you drafted from Western Michigan last year, and we all didn't like that pick. But when he played last year, he played pretty well, and he played really well against the run. So you have all these defensive ends. And, I forgot James Houston. We have James Houston now, too. So they have a lot of really good defensive ends. They're going to overwhelm you with pass rush by committee. And now they got a defensive tackle to stop the run, plus 2 first-round picks, plus freed up all that cap space without having to have that contract, that albatross of a contract hanging over their head. This isn't a bad deal for Dallas. Now, like I said earlier, should they have done it earlier? Do I think they would have gotten more in return? Had more of those assets that were usable this year? Yeah, sure, agree with all of that. But for a late deal, late in the year, it's not horrible. It's not a horrible deal for Dallas. So, all of you that are freaking out, this is the end of the Cowboys, everything's going to implode, you're wrong. Micah Parsons is way overrated. He only performs against bad teams. He's never shown up in the big moments in a playoff game. I mean, this guy's never, ever done anything to help us win a playoff game, and I want to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in history and eat up all the... No shot. 0%. I was on team trade Micah. Now when you trade him and what you get out of it, now that's a separate conversation that we can have. But I was always on, hey, just trade the dude. Not to mention Mr. Podcast, nothing but distractions. That's all Micah is distractions, podcast. He talks a big game. He never backs it up. He's not super serious about football the way that the great players are. It's their life. It's not Micah's life. It's like a secondary hobby that he enjoys. It's just Micah getting that amount of money. If you think Micah or the Cowboys should have done the Green Bay deal, you're dumb. You're dumb. And I'm sorry to break the news to you, but you're dumb. And we would be sitting here looking at, oh, man, Micah really doesn't help us a whole lot. And man, fucking now we can't afford anything because of him. That's the reality you would have been in. And on the other side, I'm telling you guys, because I know some of you guys, man, you're crazy, man. Micah Parsons is the next Lawrence Taylor. He's the greatest defensive player in history. Our season's over. The Cowboys are ruined. Listen, man. Listen. I understand some of you are going to say that, and I can already see the comments. Everybody, y'all are going to think I'm an idiot. Micah Parsons is not going to look as good in Green Bay. He's not. He's not going to show up against that Detroit offensive line unless they're banged up. He's not going to show up against that Minnesota offensive line. Even the Bears line's improved. We'll see how that works. Caleb holds ball too long, whatever. He's not going to have the same success, and he's not going to be this crazy, impactful player. He's just not. Like, he's going to be what he always is. A double-digit sack guy who, in the biggest moments when you need him the most, doesn't show up. That's what he's been his whole career. That's what he's going to continue to be. And Green Bay is going to look back at this contract and be like, damn, man, we got fleeced. We got fleeced on this money. Because Micah's very good. He's not great. And if Micah got drafted by Jacksonville instead of the Cowboys, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Everybody would be like, oh, yeah, they got a good pass rusher in Jacksonville. They wouldn't be sitting there talking about, oh, the greatest of all time. The way that some of you view Micah and the way that the media views Micah is because of that star in the side of his helmet. He's a very good player. And that's where all you guys, man, you can't believe you say Micah sucks. Never said that. I'm pointing out the weaknesses in his game and the fact that he's not this overall crazy complete player. Micah's very good. He's not great. If you told me today that I could push a button and get Nick Bosa over Micah Parsons, done. Push a button, get TJ Watt over Micah Parsons, done. Push a button, get Max Crosby over Micah Parsons, done. Push a button and get even Aiden Hutchinson at this point, if he continues with what he did last year over Micah Parsons, done. Guys, he's currently like the 5th highest paid defensive end. Before this deal, he would have been the 5th highest paid defensive end on his rookie contract. That's about where he is. He's about the 5th best defensive end in football. That's about where he is. And he wants number 1 money. I'm tired of Dallas giving the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 10th best guy number 1 money. We've seen it already with Dak. We've seen it with Zeke. We've seen it with DeMarcus Lawrence. We've seen it with these other guys. I'm tired of seeing it. I'm glad, if nothing else, just out of principle comes out of this, I'm glad Dallas finally took a stand and said, you're not good enough for that money. Yeah, we don't care if it's next up. We don't care if it's your turn. We're not paying you that. And they finally took a stand. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the trade. I think Dallas came out a lot better than people are making it out that they did. Kenny Clark's very good. You have 2 first-round picks. You don't have that albatross for contract. I think Dallas came out very good in this. And just as a side note, all these defensive players like this who have been traded, like top defensive players traded in history, it's never worked out well. It's worked out once. Jalen Ramsey to the Rams got a Super Bowl. One time it worked. Khalil Mack to the Bears, didn't work. Jamal Adams, one of the sneaky worst trades in NFL history. Guys, these trades don't work. Usually the team that does this, it doesn't work. So literally the Packers are the ones, the Packers fans, y'all should be nervous because of everything I just said. And then on top of that, historically, the percentages aren't in your favor. So that's what I got, guys. Is what it is. Let me know what you think in the comments. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm fine with the trade. I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know. Till next time, peace out.